Hey, what's up guys? Thank you guys very much for joining into our weekly live stream once again from MSI Product Marketing here on MSI Gaming Facebook and YouTube. Today we have some very important messages to tell you, of course, and some new products to demonstrate to you. We have Ryzen 5 with Vega graphics, Radeon Vega graphics, and Ryzen 3 as well. And our special guest, James Pryor from AMD, will be joining in today to discuss about these new processors with very powerful integrated graphics cards. So, very awesome stream for you guys today. And also, I'll be demonstrating the power of these new Radeon Vega graphics on our testbed today for a little bit of Quake Champions at 1080p. And speaking of Quake Champions, we also have some game codes to give away to you guys today. So if you have any questions for me or for James, drop them in the chat below for a chance to win one of the Quake Champions Battle Pack codes today. So let's kick off with our stream. And before we are going to the CPUs itself, so these little babies right here, I want to highlight to you a little bit about MSI and their AM4 lineup at the moment. So we have a full AM4 lineup available for gaming and Pro Series oriented motherboards. So we have the X370, B350 and A320 platform. From the top of my head, about 31 models available right now, which are all updated with the latest BIOS code to support these new Ryzen 5 3 processors with Vega graphics inside. So what we've done is we've closely worked with AMD on their latest AGISA 1.101 code. So as far as we know, we're the only ones implementing this on our motherboards. And this latest code allows for the best support of these new Ryzen CPUs, but also allows for the best memory support and overclocking. So you not only are overclocking on your CPU this time, but also your integrated graphics. So you can now afford, let's say, more memory and so on, and spend less on your graphics card. If you're looking for an affordable build, this has a dedicated graphics card basically built inside the CPU. So what's more awesome than that? So you might remember when we first launched our AM4 motherboards, we also had this little beauty right here, the X370 X-Power Gaming Titanium. And for this one, people were asking a lot of questions. Why did you put an HDMI and a DisplayPort output on this board? Well, now you know, with these new Ryzen CPUs with Radeon Vega graphics, you can now use those onboard display outputs as well. So we were already ahead of that, and we knew these were coming out at some point. So these motherboards, the MSI lineup is ready for all those Ryzen CPUs as well. So let me put this one aside. Let's talk about the CPU. So I have one of the CPUs right here, and this is the Ryzen 5 2400G, including Radeon Vega graphics, Vega 11 actually. So quite a lot of performance built in the CPU, not only on the CPU side. And remember, this is improved Ryzen power, so this means 4 cores and 8 threads. At the same time, you get a decent graphics card built-in as well. So the Ryzen 5, as you can see right here as well, behind me, offers a lot of performance. It actually is replacing the current Ryzen 5, if I'm correct, in the offerings online and available at your e-tailers. So you get this even better performance from the CPU side compared to the older Ryzen 5 1600, for example, or 1400 if I'm exact. But you also get built-in graphics as well. So a lot of performance for the similar price tag of the original Ryzen 5 when it first came out. So we have, let's say, I believe it's 196 or 69 US dollars or euros for this CPU. It's quite a lot with a built-in graphics card. Then on the other side of the spectrum, we also have the Ryzen 3. And this Ryzen 3 is a little bit more affordable, but also comes with the Radeon Vega graphics. It has a little bit less processing units, but still offers plenty of performance for 720 and 1080p gaming at low medium settings. So still quite impressive. And this is available for a shattering 99 US dollars or 99 euros, which is fantastic in my opinion. So you get a lot of gaming performance at a very, very attractive price point. So now let me switch to James to see who is available. Let me grab this right here. I need my headphone because we're live, dialed in with James. James, can you hear me?
Hi, how you doing?
Hey, how you doing? Fine, I'm great. Thank you very much, and thank you for joining us today. We already have one of the questions listed down. It's actually from Lucy Reed. Is there any physical indication on the motherboard packaging as to what BIOS version is preloaded? Well, I believe we, together with you, with AMD, James, we've developed some kind of stickering, right?
Yeah, that's right. So we've got a phase-in approach for our new BIOSes. So what you'll see is when the motherboard has the BIOS capability for all of the new Ryzen 2000 series products, then on the actual box itself, it'll say Ryzen 2000 ready. And you'll see that very clearly. We're just starting to see those starting to appear in market. I know that MSI, like you said, have already adopted the very latest BIOS code, so those should start appearing in retail shelves very fast. But for the products we've just launched, the Ryzen G-series, the Ryzen with Radeon graphics, we gave those parts, the BIOS bits, over to the motherboard manufacturers back in November. So if you're buying off the shelf today, chances are you're probably going to get a board that already supports these first round of Ryzen 2000 processors, even though it doesn't have the symbol to very clearly show that. They're already ready for just these first few CPUs. So we've got a great enablement happening, and I know that MSI are very good with their customer support. So if you do have any issues, you can reach out to them, get support, get updated. There are local stores that can do BIOS updates for you. There's even retailers, when you buy the motherboard, you can ask them to pre-flash it to the latest version for you as well. And if all of that fails, AMD will make sure there's no APU left behind. You can reach out to us for the boot kit, which is available worldwide, every region, for eligible customers, those people who have bought the new Ryzen processor with Radeon Vega graphics inside and you're unable to boot. We can help you make sure that that boots as well.
All right. Thank you very much for that explanation, James. I believe this completes the circle. If you, in some kind of way, do not manage to boot your system, there's always a solution available. If you're unable to find the sticker on the box, for those people who are upgrading from their current CPUs or current Ryzen, for example, it's always suggested to first flash your BIOS before taking out the older generation CPU, right? Just in case, to make sure you have a successful boot upon installing the new Ryzen with Radeon Vega. Yeah. Okay, thank you very much, Lucy Reed, for that question, and you win a game code as well. So you guys keep them coming. Questions for James, questions for myself. We're eager to answer them. And again, you can win one of the Quake Champions Battle Pack game codes today, which we are giving out. And later on I will also demonstrate the performance of these new Ryzen with Vega graphics as well on this system running Quake at 1080p. So let me find if there are any more questions. Well, actually I have a question myself for you, James. So what was actually the reason to give birth to these Ryzen with Vega CPUs or APUs?
So we've always planned on having both a CPU with this new Zen cores and a processor with graphics with the new Zen cores, because the market, the worldwide need, people want high performance CPUs, but they also want a processor with graphics. So we've done a great job of providing that with our AMD A-series up until this point, creating the APU category, but now it's time to take it to the next level. And Ryzen and Vega together in a single package. It's a single monolithic die design, one single SoC with everything you need on board, from graphics to CPU to SATA to USB, PCIe, everything's included in this single package. And it scales from ultra thin and light notebooks all the way up to a high performance desktop with now gaming graphics, right? You've got enough gaming performance in the 2200G and 2400G to enjoy yourself at 1080p low to medium settings in popular titles. So we'd always intended to attack that market, and we just needed the time to get the first CPUs out launched first, and then follow up just a few months later with our next set of products. So it's we're just coming up on the 1 year mark from the introduction of Ryzen, and we're already moving into our 2000 series, which is a fantastic new pace of innovation for AMD.
Yeah. All right. So thanks for that, for clearing that up, because like you mentioned, I'm really impressed by the performance. It's only 65 watt TDP, right, for this kind of APU?
Yeah, exactly. We're under 65 watt TDP for these two products, which means that it's the same TDP as the processors that we're replacing. Like you mentioned earlier, Ryzen 3 1200 is replaced by the Ryzen 3 2200G. That G lets you know that the graphics are on board that processor. And as you can see from the product boxes you've got on your desk, we're very clearly calling out the presence of Radeon Vega graphics inside that box on that CPU, so that you have all the performance that you need and the features that you need for the entry-level market and for the mainstream PC. So families, business desktop, commercial, all those guys get the features that they need. We can support 4K displays as well as H.265 native encode and decode, so you can do all the modern things that you want to do with this processor in your PC.
So you would say not just for HT-PCs, but for any office PC or any, even 3D stuff going on, this is a complete package that basically delivers anything you would want in terms of image, in terms of fast processing, at an affordable price point, of course.
Absolutely. We've tried to redefine what the level of value is you get with Ryzen. I mean, the 2200G is 5% faster on single thread and 10% faster on multi-thread and $10 less than the previous generation model. So you're getting a great increase in value there. And the improvement in the 2400G is even bigger. So you were really pushing hard to ensure there's no minor increments. It's always a positive generational uplift with Ryzen. That's what we're going to continue to do throughout this year.
So you even left some room for overclocking, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Ton of room for overclocking here, because we've got this platform. Socket AM4 scales up to 8 cores, 16 threads, 95 watt CPU. So you put a 65 watt CPU into that platform, like those big MSI motherboards, and you're gonna have a ton of power delivery headroom. You've got all that VRM, all those power phases ready to feed this tiny little 65 watt processor, and you'll find the most headroom is actually in the graphics core. We can see 400 megahertz overclocks on air cooling quite easily. So you'll get, we've seen with internal testing on some pretty average boards, B350 with just the regular Wraith max cooler, that we can hit from the 1250 megahertz normal frequency of the GPU up to 1600 megahertz. Wow. So you get an extra 350, 400 megahertz, and if you combine that with high-speed memory, which 3600 memory is easily able to be done on these processors, you're going to get a 40% increase in gaming performance. So if you think back to all the third-party media reviews you saw, many of them on that MSI Mini ITX motherboard, you're going to see that we have great gaming performance at stock, very comparable to a GT 1030. And now you can overclock that inside the processor and get even more performance without having to add discrete. So if you were thinking about an entry-level processor and a discrete GPU, as hard as they are to find right now, these Ryzen G-series processors are the answer. You get all of that plus upgrade capabilities because you can add in all those extra graphics cards later on as well.
That's simply amazing, James, and I'm looking forward to test it out myself as an overclocker. So I'm really looking forward to taking this baby home and give it a good run for the money to find out what the maximum is. But it sounds really, really amazing, especially from that low TDP. I see we have another question from the chat. This one is from Steve Sand. Hey, Martijn and James, who will be the target group of your new products?
So our primary target here are people who are buying pre-built PCs. So we think that that's mostly who is going to buy this product. Is they're going to buy it in a desktop that's already built for them from one of the cool system builders, maybe a global manufacturer like Dell, HP, Lenovo, maybe someone more on the local scale like the Scan or Overclockers or LDLC, those kind of guys. Because they're looking for out of the box. It's the single PC that does everything for the family. Mom and dad want to do the financials. They want to get on Facebook. They want to do the little bit of editing, video, photo editing, whatever. Little Johnny needs to do his homework. He's on there. But now he doesn't have to talk dad into buying the extra graphics card, the more expensive PC, because he's got gaming right here inside of the box. So while dad's not looking, then little Johnny can be playing Rocket League or Overwatch or something like that. Not that we'd ever endorse skipping your homework to do esports, but we all know that's what's going to happen. So you can do it right here out of the box in this one PC very simply and easily, and it's low power and efficient.
Yeah. All right, thanks for that explanation. And Steve, you also win one of the Quake Champions battle pack codes for that question. So also thank you to you, Steve. Keep them questions coming, guys, because we have a lot more time with James together today for a really good Q&A. Just let us know what's picking your brain. You know, what's on your mind regarding these new Ryzen with Vega graphics processors or MSI AM4 motherboards. I see we already have another question, James. This one is from Francois Mouton. I think it's French. If not, I'm sorry. I just tried. Hey Martijn and James, can you explain how the RAM on the motherboard will interact with the onboard GPU? Obviously, it will have a major impact. Can you discuss this topic a little bit more? Can you discuss? Sure. Oh, sorry, James. Can you discuss whether the CPU will have any performance impact whilst the APU is in operation and vice versa?
Great question. Yeah, so we're using shared bandwidth of the DDR4 memory controller for both the CPU and the GPU. And when you've got a workload, typically like a gaming workload is not going to be hitting the memory very hard for the CPU at the same time as the integrated graphics is hitting the frame buffer requirement. So, you know, in the BIOS, you'll be able to set between 64 and 2 gigabytes of dedicated system memory as the frame buffer. And, you know, the best setting is just auto because it figures out how much you need. You don't need a huge amount. There was a nice TechSpot article recently that looked into the different sizes and found out how much you need. And it's really not a lot. You don't have to feel like, oh, I got to have 16 gigs of RAM to enable a 2 or 4 gig frame buffer to make sure my gaming works. That's not the case because Windows is very smart about using both the frame buffer that's dedicated to the unified memory architecture graphics, as well as allocating driver memory from the main system memory at the same time. So in that term, there's no contention. The full bandwidth will be used by the CPU and the GPU as needed, so it's going to work really well. When you go to more of a compute-based workload, then typically you see kind of the same thing, because if you've got a compute workload that needs GPU acceleration, then typically you're offloading the entirety of that to the compute body. So you're going to get a nice, you're going to get a trade back and forth. CPU needs the memory, GPU needs the memory. CPU needs the memory, GPU. So very simple and easy, unified memory architecture in this CPU, so that both devices can put their requests into the memory bus, interleaved and prioritized as needed. So you get very smooth and responsive gaming or compute performance when you're trying to do these different workloads.
So this is actually taking advantage of the infinite fabric you designed, right?
Absolutely. All of the parts inside here are connected using the Infinity Fabric. So the CPU, the GPU, the I/O, PCIe, memory controller, all of that is connected with the Infinity Fabric. It's a high-speed bus, so that's obviously going to give you a lot of very smooth transitions of transactions. So that gives you more performance.
Great design and great technology, James. Awesome. Yeah, great question as well, Francois. And for that, you also win one of the Quake Champions codes. So thanks, guys. Keep them coming. I believe we have some more questions later on. But I have one question for you, James. As you mentioned, you know, how does Ryzen with RYZEN VEGA graphics handle RAM? Would you say like 8 gigabyte is good enough for any system powering these CPUs?
Oh, definitely, yeah. If you're going for the cost-effective approach, then a 2 by 4 gigabyte DDR4 2400 kit, definitely the sweet spot. Depends on the memory pricing day to day. Sometimes it's only $10 more to go to a 3000 or 3200 kit, but sometimes that can be a much larger difference. So definitely keep an eye on your memory pricing and see what you can get, but you can get on a 2400 kit and get great performance. When we first showed off Raven Ridge, this new Ryzen with Radeon Vega graphics to the world, we showed all of our performance using DDR4 2400 because we knew that was where most people were going to configure and buy for this product.
So the sweet spot is price performance 2400, and you would say like 8 gig is plenty to power any of the systems using Ryzen 3 or Ryzen 5 with Radeon Vega.
Absolutely.
Okay, nice. So this really means we can now totally build a really affordable gaming system from the top of my head, should be around $300 US. You can build a complete desktop tower with Ryzen Vega and also with 8 gigs of memory, and simply enjoy an SSD as well. So sounds like you really have a breakthrough in the market here in terms of price performance for affordable gaming. So fantastic. So I see we have another question from the chat. This one is from Ronak Don. What graphics card would you say competes with the graphics of the new Ryzen APU lineup? I believe you already mentioned that a little bit, James, but maybe compared to AMD's lineup as well.
Yeah, sure. So I think that if you looked at the RX 550, you're going to find that the 2400G is very close in performance to that discrete graphics card. Sometimes it's going to be a little bit faster using that discrete GPU, but obviously for the price to performance ratio, that's vastly skewed towards the Ryzen processor. And the same goes for the GT 1030 from the competition. We're able to beat that product in some games depending on the configuration, so it's head to head, neck and neck. I think we're very strong in our gaming performance at that level.
Yeah, and even overclocking wise, like you mentioned, if you have 30 to 40% more GPU performance, that would even turn it up one more, or how would you? Yeah,
for sure. You could definitely eclipse both those products with that little bit extra headroom you've got right there, and because you're not investing any extra in your purchase, you've got a lot of headroom right there. It might be better to buy the Ryzen processor with a big beefy cooler versus trying to go for one of these $80 graphics cards that offers maybe only 10% more performance. Yeah. So yeah, definitely a good option.
So especially for B350 side, the benefit of that is all these CPUs are unlocked, but especially you made the choice to make the B350 also overclockable. This makes it a perfect match for any Ryzen with Radeon Vega builds, right?
Yeah, exactly. It was a very deliberate choice from AMD to ensure that overclocking was available on the price points and the type of motherboards that people want to do that kind of thing. We needed an entry-level platform, the A320, that was focused on cost efficiency and being the most accessible in the market, and that's why it's not enabled for overclocking, because now our partners like MSI don't have to over-design that board for features that people are never going to use. But if you've got a B350 where there's a very strong overclocking price point, then we do have that available, and that's a distinct advantage for our platform, as is the existing compatibility with product as we go forward. We're going to put our new processors into the same socket and make it compatible through BIOS updates. So that really helps, and that's a deliberate choice by AMD, because we wanted to really attack this market and really come back strong for the gamers, for the enthusiasts who have been waiting for this new Zen core and the new Vega core inside.
All right, awesome. So let me check if we have another question. I believe Ronak Dawn also won one of the Quake Champions game codes. So yeah, we still have plenty of those codes to give away actually. So if you have any more questions, please keep them coming. Myself and James are eager to answer them. And let me check if I also had something read down. So let me check if any questions from my side. I see one of the end users also has a question. Second question from Lucy Reed. You already won a code, so anyway, still a good question though. Can you talk about how the boot kit works? When I buy a motherboard, how can I tell what BIOS version is preloaded? Well, you already mentioned the sticker a little bit, James. Or is it going to be a case of just trying and to find out if it works? Well, I think maybe best for you to answer, James.
Sure, yeah. So you will. We expect most of the motherboards in the market today, 60 to 80%, to already be compatible with the Ryzen 2000 with Radeon Vega graphics inside. So we feel confident you're going to have a good experience. But if you don't, then all of our partners are going to be able to support you. So if you buy an MSI motherboard and for some reason it doesn't boot, you can contact them, help figure out what is the options you have. And you can also go to AMD. And if you go to AMD and you do what's called an RMA request, and you tell them that your processor doesn't boot with your new motherboard, and if for some reason you're not happy or able to use the options from local availability, we can send you what we call the boot kit. So this is free of charge. we will loan you an AMD APU that will work in your motherboard. It's one of our A-series APUs. You can use that to then update the motherboard, and then we include the return shipping. You just send it back to us, and then we can enable the next person that's struggling with problems as well, and we can fix them up too. So don't hold on to it, because then the next person in line doesn't get a chance to get updated. But we will make sure that like we said, there's no APU left behind. Everybody's going to be compatible. We will make sure anybody who buys these products gets to use them.
So this is actually kind of a last resort, right, option?
Yeah, just typically because your local support infrastructure, like it may be just faster and simpler and easier to go pay somebody to update the motherboard for you, or to call a friend and say, hey, can I borrow your CPU? And we have regional support with all of our motherboard partners, very strong in Europe with MSI, to get those boards updated, replaced, to do advanced replacements or swap outs, or a lot of the retailers can exchange for a known good as well. So all of those options available. But everything else fails, AMD will make sure it works.
Awesome. So worry-free experience in the end anyway. That's the most important thing. So we have another question from Sasha Köpi, if I say this correct, maybe Finnish, not sure. Which graphics card is compatible with that CPU? And is that Crossfire or SLI capable? So about the GPU.
Yeah, so any discrete graphics card will work in the PCI Express slot. You can upgrade whatever you want. Doesn't matter whether it's AMD, NVIDIA, or if you find some of the Matrox card. I don't know what you've got in mind, but they'll all work just fine. You just need compatible drivers for your operating system. We don't have any kind of APU to discrete Crossfire capabilities, and previously this was described as dual graphics. That's not in operation because we're moving forward into the next gen era of modern APIs like DirectX 12 and OpenGL Vulkan, and those are going to use explicit multi-adapter technologies for the developer themselves to decide, hey, I've got a couple of different graphics compute bodies here. Do I want to try and use them to scale up my performance, or is it too difficult, or is it too mismatched? They're going to figure that out by themselves, and they can come to us for any assistance that they need, but it's on that side of the fence for how that gets done. In terms of if you were to have two discrete graphics cards, then if you look at X370 motherboards, which have the ability to take like a Ryzen 7 and split the PCIe lanes from by 16 to 2 by 8. Now, these new processors don't have that capability. Part of their reason for that is it's designed for mobile, and it came from the ultra thin and light notebook world. So we made some choices to ensure that the power and performance was really optimized for low TDP, and part of that was we included 8 lanes of PCIe for graphics. And if you look at how people buy PCs, most of them are buying a single graphics card, and the people who are buying two graphics cards,
they can buy anything at the moment sometimes.
Right. Trying to buy two graphics cards pretty hard right now. So you've got a very small amount of people who are doing it, and then I would say that people who are buying two graphics cards are going to buy up the processor stack. They're looking at our Ryzen 5 6-core or a Ryzen 7 8-core or our Threadripper products that are going to go for that, because they're looking ahead. They're saying, I want to spend 1,000, 2,000 euro on graphics cards. They're not going to do that with a sub $200 or 200 euro processor. They're going to do that a little bit higher up. Yeah. So I don't feel like it's a huge market miss by not having those extra lanes on the product, but it does mean you should be thinking about, okay, well, my platform scales from a 4-core APU with graphics up to an 8-core CPU. If I go up in graphics, I may want to think about going up in performance. But we also have the Ryzen 3 1300X and Ryzen 5 1500X. So if you are the guy that's looking at, I want a 4-core processor with two discrete graphics cards, we do have that processor already available for sale with the full 16 PCIe lanes.
Yeah. By leaving that out, you also can make this more affordable, right? I mean, that's also one of the things. Less design cost.
Absolutely. You bring the die size down, and you can decrease the cost, and it lets us put it into market at a lower price as well.
Yeah. So actually, there's a quite understandable choice why not to put them on these, but keep them on the other non-APU versions of Ryzen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, thanks for that, James, and Sasha. Also, thank you to you. You also win one of the Quake Champions codes for that. Let me find if I had any more questions for you, James, because I still have a little bit of time left, I believe. Let me find out. Yeah. Yeah, there was recently something about thermal paste being used instead of soldering. Is there anything you want to highlight on that part, or me as an overclocker always interested in that. I also saw some news about it that doesn't really make that much of a difference, but maybe you can solidify.
Yeah, like I said, this product is intended for a very cost-sensitive market, and it's also intended for a low-power market. And when we looked at our product definition and we looked at the intended use cases, we found that solder just wasn't required. Now, that's a statement for this single product. It's not a statement for all future Ryzen products. So if you're sitting there going, oh my goodness, this means the Ryzen 2000 12 nanometer CPUs that are coming out in April, they're going to have toothpaste under the lid. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, for this product, we made a choice to use a different kind of thermally interface material underneath the heat spreader. It works pretty well compared to the other kinds that are available, especially our competitors. You can find a little bit more thermal margin with going to a D-lid and a liquid paste, but that's a lot of effort. That's a lot of things to do. It's something that's fun. It's fun. The tweakers out there, the overclockers, you guys are going to have a lot of fun doing that. But the people who are buying $169 or $99 CPUs, I don't think it's something that everybody's going to worry about. It doesn't. We're not, with all the overclocking headroom we got plenty of thermal performance left in the box.
Yeah. Okay, thanks for that, and I can also mention a little bit about it because I had a brief test about this particular APU, the 2400G Ryzen 5, and actually I was really surprised by the low temperature and high performance from this CPU cooler you've boxed in as well. So this little guy is still capable of making sure that this APU, so don't forget guys, this is also integrated graphics, which is quite fast, has quite some performance to deliver, still keeping it in the low 60s, when playing your games, and that's really awesome from any built-in graphics with a CPU as powerful as a Ryzen product, in my opinion. So, really awesome job with the box cooler as well, in my opinion.
Thank you.
So, let me check. We have another question I see. Hopefully this doesn't drop. Yeah. From Tristan Perry. Not sure if I'm saying this right. Will we see a Ryzen 7 version of the Gen 2, and will we see a higher FPS than what I have seen from some YouTubers or tech guys that did reviews on them?
So when we look at Ryzen 7, how we defined our price and performance segments was based on CPU performance. So we've got a single die here that we're sharing with mobile. It's a 4-core, 8-thread product. It has up to 11 Vega compute units of graphics. So the Ryzen 5 2400G is the fully enabled product. So if you were to, if we say like, all right, let's blow out the TDP, turn up all the dials maximum, and try and make a Ryzen 7 version, it's missing cores, right? There's not enough CPU cores in there to justify a Ryzen 7 band. So the Ryzen 5 2400G is where it's at. And if you look at the buyers, people who are buying, in that price segment of $300 CPUs, they're not using processor graphics. They're not even using GT 1030s and RX 550s. They are much higher up the performance scale. So, looking at what kind of product would be needed right there, it's a discrete CPU and GPU combination, and it's probably going to stay that way for a long time.
Yeah. All right. So awesome question, Tristan, and thanks for your answer, James. I think it kind of shines some light on the situation and the future plans, perhaps, of AMD. And you also win one of the game codes, Quake, Tristan, so I hope you enjoyed that game as well. Let me see if I had one more question for you, James. Yeah, I was asking, when will these Raven Ridge or Ryzen with Radeon Vega graphics will be available, and which regions? I mean, is this a global launch?
Yeah, this is global launch. We made it available. The sales embargo lifted on the February 12th. So we've got global availability now. It's going to trickle through from our premier AMD partners down into the next levels of distribution. So probably by the end of March, you'll see it in every store and available everywhere. PCs with Ryzen with Radeon Vega graphics on sale across the globe. So wherever it is, just keep asking your favorite retailer. You want one, and they'll make sure to get it for you.
All right. So guys, come on, if you want this new awesome product, I mean this Ryzen 3 and Ryzen 5 with built-in Vega graphics, you can just go ahead and contact your local retailer and they'll probably have stock for you anyway. So yeah, and the motherboard availability is also quite good, as I know. So go ahead and start building those affordable gaming PCs. Thanks, James. I have one more question from one in the chat. It's from Björn Ziegler. Is there a problem with Spectre already, or did they change something? Wow.
Yeah, so the best place to look for that answer is on the AMD security blog that we keep updated by our CTO, Mark Papermaster. But in brief, well, we have worked closely with the industry and Microsoft in particular to ensure patches available. We're immune to some of the aspects, and others there's a very low risk. So we feel confident that we've got the right approach, but we're obviously constantly evaluating what needs to happen to ensure the security of our users and our products. So keep checking back to AMD.com, looking for that security update. We'll keep everything posted right there. That's the single easiest way to stay up to date.
Okay. Awesome. I hope that answers your question, Björn. And also, thanks for your question. You also win one of the Quake Champions game codes for that, or battle pack codes. If you have any more questions for James or myself, please keep them coming. Put them in the chat. I'm not sure how much time you have left, James, but I think we're quite on a roll here. So maybe you still have some time. Then I already see a new question. So let's continue with that, if that's okay with you. This question is from Nova Son. Is there any plan to make a Ryzen 2.0 APU version in the future?
Yeah, so if you look back to CES this year, we did quite a big update with the global media tech press about what our strategy is. So in 2018, you're going to see us moving to some new second generation products. We're just launching now Ryzen 2000 with Radeon Vega graphics. That's our first APU, if you will, with Zen and Vega cores. It's on the 14 nanometer plus technology, so it's already evolved from the first generation Ryzen. It's got Precision Boost 2, which is a new boost algorithm to improve performance. We're seeing that already in some of the benchmarks. We follow that up with 12 nanometer CPU in April. Very exciting for that. More details to come closer to that time. And then in the back half of the year, maybe we'll do something with Threadripper. We'll see what's happening there as well. And then, next year is another big inflection year where we get the second generation of Zen CPU architecture coming available for our partners. So we're going to have a big year next year as well as this year. So it's going to be a new suite of products then as well. And we're going to continue on with our compatibility with AM4. So the same way you see now that the products, if you had a day one motherboard, then you're able to update the BIOS and put in the 1 year later CPU. We're going to continue down that path. So keep buying AM4 platform with confidence. We're going to keep giving you updates, new architectures, new products, new performance.
That's just awesome, James. Thanks a lot for that. Hope that answers your question, Nova. Actually, tying into that one, you mentioned Precision Boost or Precision Boost 2.0. This means also it will have XFR, right? You will continue to use that in the CPU architecture.
Absolutely, yes. XFR now applies to all cores and threads, whereas previously Precision Boost was for 1 core, 2 threads, and XFR applied to 1 core, 2 threads. Now it applies to all cores and threads. So, it's very hard to say what the exact megahertz improvement is because it's very variable based on temperature. But if you do buy better cooling and you have a nice cool environment to run your product in, then you're going to have better performance. So you're going to see more performance come when you add in those better coolers, and that's going to apply to multi-threaded workloads, to lightly threaded workloads. It's going to improve on the real-world applications. It's not just limited onto the single thread side of things. It's going to improve across everything.
So you keep, let's say, yeah, giving the enthusiasts something extra. You know, if they're building their own PCs, if they're building water cooling systems, or you are basically rewarding them by choosing great cooling solutions and giving them extra performance out of the box.
Exactly, yes. If you spend more on better cooling, you expect to get something more than just some flashing lights, and what you get is more performance.
Great. All right, awesome. Then I see we have another question from a very interesting nickname called Whiskey Foxtrot. Hello Martijn, how's MSI's latest BIOS, or lately with BIOS updates, which motherboard is displayed by the Ryzen 5? Is it the same as B350 Pro? Ha, good question. Well, it's actually the latest one re-released. It's a mini ITX version. This is the B350i Pro AC, and this one comes with the support for the new Ryzen with RYZEN VEGA graphics as well. The B350i Pro AC also features a beefier VRM design, so you can even full benefit from the CPU and GPU overclocking built inside the Ryzen 3 and 5 with RYZEN VEGA graphics as well. Especially, you know, making it a perfect match with one of these affordable performance CPUs and APUs. I think it's a really interesting choice for anyone looking to build a small, can-do-it-all system or a small form factor affordable gaming rig near their TV or, you know, couch gaming. But thanks for that question. But you can also find the Ryzen Vega BIOSes on our website. So if you go to msi.com, you go to the top bar, and you go to products, motherboards, just simply select which platform, or let's say which chipset you're looking for. If it's B350, X370 or A320, you should be able to find all the latest Ryzen with Vega graphics BIOS versions available per product. So it doesn't matter which kind of motherboard you have, all those BIOS versions are available on its specific product page. So thank you very much for that question. Yeah, you also win a game code for that, of course, one of the Quake Champions battle pack codes. So not sure if you still have time left, James.
Yeah, plenty of time here.
Oh, great. Okay, so let's keep it up. I also had one more question for you, I guess. Let me check. Yeah. What type of game? Because I mentioned, you mentioned in the beginning of the stream a little bit about certain games you're playing, but what types of games would you recommend playing on Ryzen 3 and Ryzen 5 with RYZEN VEGA graphics?
Oh, that's a great question. I tend to vary a lot. I like the esports games like Overwatch and PUBG or Fortnite, but I also like the driving games. So you could get in there with some Grid or whatever your favorite new Need for Speed title is. Love all those. Those play really well. Rocket League is a ton of fun. But if you're looking more for the what we call the AAA, then those are going to play well as well. We've seen a lot of different games. I think, excuse me, probably most challenging we've seen was The Witcher 3. That one really needs a lot of graphics horsepower, but you can still get a solid 30 frames per second out of a 2400G on that title, which really shows how much performance there is inside that little box. So you really find there's not many games you can't get to work at 1080p or maybe 900p, low to medium settings. Check out all the third-party media reviews, see what games they've played and what they think it is. Right? If you want Counter-Strike, it's going to be able to hit maybe even 90 frames per second or 100 in that title as well. So I know that Dota 2 plays very well, especially if you switch over to the OpenGL Vulkan beta. That's going to give you 70 frames per second out of a $99 2200G. I mean, that's pretty game-changing right there.
That's really interesting. Yeah.
Lot of good games to play.
So even games like FIFA and such, like soccer games as well, right? Those type of couch gaming games which you play with a controller, even on your PC, and like you mentioned, like Grid or any type of race game, should be able to run perfectly on 720, 900p or 1080p even on these CPUs.
For sure, definitely.
All right. Thank you very much. Now I have a question in the chat from Mikolas Jurvolas. James, how do you feel to work for AMD as a company?
I've worked for AMD for about 4.5 years now, and it's been fantastic. I've got to meet some great people. I get to engage in fun things like this. It's been really professionally a fantastic journey to be part of returning to the enthusiast space and bringing in a new product like Ryzen. It's a lot of fun to be. I come from the enthusiast community. I was previously a tech writer for one of the independent media websites. So I really feel like I push into our product design and our engineering and our marketing the enthusiast viewpoint. What do we need to make the guys who are overclockers, who like multi-GPU, who like big, hairy, multi-core CPUs? What do you guys want to see? And I get to be that voice, which is very fun. It's a great thing to be.
So really in the dream world, as you speak at the moment. Like me, myself, as an overclocker, working with hardware and doing this kind of fun streams with you guys, it's, I can imagine how you feel.
Exactly the same.
Nice, James. Thank you for that, Mikolas. I believe James would agree with me. You also win one of the Quake Champions battle pack codes for that question. I still think we have 1 or 2 codes left, so if you have any questions, please keep them coming in the chat. And as James mentioned about the games, and we briefly discussed about what types of games you can play on your couch or just as a gaming rig itself. After the Q&A with James, I will also demonstrate a little bit of Quake myself, actually at 1080p, so showing you some awesome performance on that, even at 60 FPS, so very capable of that. I have a last question, I see, from my producer, from Andreas Gripperis, if I say this correct, I'm sorry if not. Are there any plans for Thunderbolt 3.0 on AMD platform?
Yeah, so that's completely down to our partners, right? Adding that chip to the motherboard is, it's a PCI Express device, whether you add it in as a PCIe card or it's natively integrated into the motherboard design. Just really depends on if the system designer or the motherboard designer sees the need. Yeah. So if you guys are seeing a strong demand for Thunderbolt storage devices, then you could add that in as a feature on your motherboard. But I think that's not being a primary purchase factor in today's computer platforms. It's something that everybody's looking at, but it's not like, oh, you don't have Thunderbolt, then I don't want your platform. It's a secondary consideration.
Yeah. All right, thanks for that, James. And like James mentioned, it's all up to the AIB or the motherboard partners to whether or not implement this on their motherboard lineup. So perhaps, who knows, maybe this year MSI will also implement on the new AMD's platform or new motherboards coming out. So thanks for that question, Andreas, and for that you also win one of the, I believe the last Quake Champions battle pack code. So congratulations on that, and thanks you guys for the questions. I believe I have one more question left for James. Can it play Crysis?
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, that's a joke, James. I'm sorry. Let me check. Let me check if I had one more left. Yeah. Does the current shortage of graphics card have any impact on the availability of these Ryzen APUs?
No, we've got plenty of supply. There's no worries there. We're getting them distributed worldwide. It's just, we're not using any shared chips because this is a native single design. So we don't have any constraints on providing Ryzen with Radeon Vega graphics processors to the market because of intense demand for the bigger GPUs, because there's no shared components. There's just shared IP, shared design.
Yeah. Okay, so plenty of availability, and like I mentioned and you mentioned, available at your local e-tailers right now. So if you want to build something affordable and start gaming right now, maybe couch gaming, go and grab some of these Ryzen 3, Ryzen 5 with Vega graphics, and maybe a B350i Pro AC as well. I mean, you can start building and having fun even this weekend. So thank you very much, James, for joining us today. It was really fun having you, and I hope our viewers as well enjoyed your Q&A with you and your answers. I'm pretty sure they did, especially if they have something to win, of course. So thanks for joining us today, and I'm already looking forward to our next session.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
Bye, James.
Bye, guys.
So now it's time to fire up and see how the Ryzen is performing when we are playing Quake. So let me quickly switch the computer. So I've already booted the system. It's on for quite some time, but I just wanted to show you guys a little bit about the specs. So I'm using the B350i, as I mentioned, the Pro AC, so one of the latest MSI boards, mini ITX, so small form factor. And as you can see, I'm not using any graphics card at the moment. There's nothing sticking out right here. We're basically just using the CPU and built-in graphics to run this game at 1080p. So we're using the 2400G Ryzen 5 processor or APU. It's boosting up to a 3.9 gigahertz from the top of my head, which is awesome for a 4-core and 8 threads CPU, using the box cooler of course, and still being able to deliver decent and let's say quite awesome graphics performance. Actually, I was really surprised by this. And the memory we're using today is Corsair's memory. It's RGB kit, 3200 megahertz, 16 CL rate, so low latency memory, fast memory, which is really beneficial to the built-in graphics processor of this RYZEN Vega graphics card CPU. So let's go ahead and boot up Quake for now. I haven't played this in quite some time, so excuse my skills. Just going to boot the game and play it a little bit to demonstrate some FPS to you. And first I'm going to show you the settings, of course. I had to tone down a little bit because we're playing at 1080p, but like James mentioned, you can also switch to 900p or 720p. Then you can move up to medium and some settings even to high for this particular game. But as I mentioned, I was quite surprised by the good performance this has to offer. I was able to hit, let's say, fairly consistent 60 FPS, so really awesome. And you might remember in the past you would always need a dedicated graphics card to get 60 FPS running at 1080p. Hey, I have a login. That's strange. Not sure why this is. Let me find out. Restart the launcher for now. Should be able to run out of the box. Yep. Sign in. Yeah. Try again. So yeah, as I mentioned, really fantastic what they meant, what they squeezed inside this little chip right here. You know, the sheer graphics performance, the CPU, the 4-core 8 threads they put in this chip. It's really amazing. I mean, yeah, it kind of baffles the mind. So let me find out if we can run it now. Choose your region. Connecting to server. This game is still in alpha stage, by the way. For those who want it, you get a free battle pack, which means you can get to choose a champion and also get some nice upgrades inside the game. So congratulations on that. I see we've now successfully booted up the game. Let me first show you the settings. Let's go to video. Yeah, we're playing full screen, 1080p, so 1920 by 1080. We're playing some settings on low, some medium, even one on high, texture quality, and the others on low. So remember, this is 1080p, so we're aiming for, let's say, around 60 FPS, which is obviously important when you're playing a first-person shooter. You know, when you play other games like adventure games, you could easily do with 30 or 40 FPS. That's also quite fine and playable. So this means you can get to play with the in-game quality a little bit more. So if you prefer better image quality over FPS, you can simply play with the settings a little bit and get the most out of this little iGPU or APU. So let's search for a match. Hopefully it will find something quick. See, we still have some loot boxes. We have a chest. Let's open it while we're waiting anyway. Not sure what it is. Ah, we got a legendary champion. Nice. And a gun. A new gun. Reliquary. Not sure how to say this.
Legendary.
Some relics, yeah. So legendary, some shadow skin, some armor. Quite nice. Alright. So hopefully, yeah, it says match found. So now we should be able to accept and start playing this a little bit. Let me move this aside. I have to sit down, warm up the hands, because it's FPS, so you need fast reaction times. And of course you need a fast system to do so, to be able to, you know, play the game at a decent skill level, of course. So let me move this a little bit. Warm-up phase.
I need to find a slip gate out of this place.
So top left corner. I'm not sure if you can see the FPS counter right there. And you can see 40 to 60 FPS depending on how much stuff is going on the screen. Of course,
Man, money's down. That's
so still around 60 FPS, perfectly capable of dishing out that performance you need to get your frags actually. So warm-up phase is done.
round one.
Find
Nothing and everything.
Steam Deathmatch, so let me help the team. That already helped me. It's quite good. Die. Up there. So you see, it's still 60 FPS, which is quite good.
So lost.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on right now.
Capture B.
Space. Really rusty, guys.
Enemy has the
Yeah, it's not going so well, to be honest.
Maybe my kingdom. So taken.
Got kind of gameplay for myself. But as you can see, FPS and the image quality is really good. And this is all coming from that little APU, you know, that little chip on the desk is performing and dishing out this kind of FPS, which is really awesome. And I know this is not the most demanding game, but it's still from built-in graphics really and still really good and playable if you have a little bit more skill than I do. So you can still enjoy those kind of games and like FIFA and Grid, you know, those racing games, and be able to simply enjoy a really affordable gaming rig and still be able, you know, to keep, hey, I got one, to keep some money in your pocket or save some money for the games, you know, because in the end you still want to buy those games and still want to play those games. So have more money left for your game library and still be able to, yeah, to play these games at a decent level and still maximum enjoyability and immersive gaming experience, even from this little chip. So it's you have to carry the soul, obviously. Alright, so if I die, then I'm going to quit the game. Rage quit. So still 60 FPS. Sometimes we are dropping because there's a lot of stuff going on the screen. Dish that out. Find my friends. Yeah. So only one frag. Sorry for that, guys. Sorry for the team. Was not very supportive on that. For you guys, you know, who won the game codes, enjoy it. Enjoy the battle packs. Thank you guys. Thank you to James for joining the chat today, to joining this stream. Thank you guys very much for the questions. And next week we also have a very important and very nice stream for you guys. On the same date or same time, on Wednesdays, on the 28th of February, we're going to talk about new MSI gaming gear and specifically about new gaming keyboards. So my colleague Peter will be introducing new gaming keyboards to you. Be sure to tune in, and once again, thank you guys very much for tuning in today and your questions in the chat, and hopefully see you soon next time. Happy gaming!